Hello, and welcome to Way Too Serious, the show where we get way too serious and talk way too much about things in the grand scheme of life just really don't matter. We're back this week. It's Kurtis, and Tony's back with me. Tony, how's it going?
What up? Not bad.
All right, we're back to MCU this week. We're just going to pick up right where we left off. Last week, we had finished up talking about the movies in the series, and we started with Iron Man. We finished up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but there's still a lot more to talk about, so let's get into it. All right, so that kind of wraps us talking about the films that have come out so far. So let's talk a little bit about the other stuff that's part of this universe. And this is gonna be hard for me because I've never seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I did see some of the shorts. I saw the short about the Mandarin. I've seen a couple of the other ones. I don't think I've seen them all. I haven't seen the Agent Carter one. But she's going to be getting her... Well, we'll get into the future stuff coming up. We'll talk about that later. First, you said you were going to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Have you actually seen it before? You have, right? You saw an episode or two?
I saw the pilot episode. Again, that's how much... I wasn't a fan at this time, but that's how much I wanted to like these movies. Was I checked out this show, and it just wasn't good. I heard people rave about it and how the dialogue was so Whedon-esque, and it was so boring and unwatchable. I felt like it could have potential down the road, especially with movie tie-ins, but it was just that bad that I couldn't just be strung along. I think it's your bit that you talk about, Curtis, where if you think if you got invested in something, then you can ride it out. And there's been a few exceptions. I know you didn't ride Prison.
That's why I can't watch this. And I want to do my due diligence and watch a couple episodes, but I can't. I have pretty much a steadfast rule on TV shows. You got to be on the air for 2 years, and you have to have people say you're good, and I won't watch you until then. And some shows that I like probably got canceled because I and other people have that mentality. Firefly, Josh Whedon is one of them. I wish I had signed up for it, but guess what? If I'd signed up for that, I would have signed up for a bunch of other shows. I used to do that. I stuck out all 4 seasons of Prison Break because the first season was so good, and oh my god. Was that a mistake?
You're a mistake.
And there's even been a few shows where it hasn't been that good. And I still kept watching it just because I'm a loyal person. I think the one that always sticks out that I can say I quit was Heroes, which I loved the first season. And then the second season rolled around, and that was during the writer's strike. And I was like, okay, this isn't that great, but they have the writer's strike. I'll cut it some slack. I made it 3 episodes into the 3rd season, and I said, I am done with this crap. It is terrible.
You also quit Entourage, which is ridiculous.
Well, Entourage was different. I quit that because my HBO subscription expired, and I didn't get it back at the time, and I didn't get HBO back for 2 years. And by that time, it was in the last season. And that's my point. No show should go on for more than 5 seasons. You just get tired of the same characters.
Not me. Nope. And I know I was wrong about the Hangover characters because I said the same thing, but not those 4. Nope.
I think again we've said it 4 times. We love RDJ being RDJ, and we haven't got tired. At some point, we're going to get tired of it.
Okay, maybe I don't see.
And
it
I was just tired
soon.
of, we'll do an Entourage episode some other time.
Good, because then you'll have to finish it. Okay.
The other one I quit was Walking Dead because I could not take them just running around that prison for. My wife was way ahead of me, and I was starting season 3, and I was like, how much longer are they going to run around this prison? And she's like, for another year and a half. I'm like, done. I'm done.
To me, I couldn't make it through a full episode. I tried twice, and twice is as much as I'll try. So, I guess back to what we're actually here to talk about is.
Oh yeah, Marvel Cinematic Universe,
right.
And we were talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, I want to move on a little bit because I think we're done there. I think we're both...
Can I ask one question? Because I don't know the answer. Maybe there is no S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore after Cap 2. So what did they do?
The final couple episodes of season 2 are supposed to be amazing, or season 1, sorry, are supposed to be amazing. But I don't know that I could make it there, and there's so many other shows I would rather be watching.
Did they do a full 22 run? A full 20,
I think it
22?
was 24, 25, but yeah, exactly. And they're an hour long a piece.
5 seasons, 10 to 15 episodes. That should be the law. There should be a law. You got to do that. If you're a serial show, Like I said, I talked about it on 22 MW 24, and we're getting off topic again. It works so much better as 12 episodes than 24.
And
anyway,
I've heard people say, okay, watch episode 1, 3, 13, 12. They just name out the 6 episodes you should watch. And I just can't watch television that way.
I can't do it either.
So,
Too OCD.
Yeah, so I can't do it. Maybe at some point, I doubt it, because I've already accepted the fact that there's just so much good television, and there's more and more coming every year, that I'm just not going to get to watch it all in my lifetime.
And there's people releasing TV shows in a more reasonable format. Like I think the next show on my list, if we ever stop watching 20 movies a week, is what's the Netflix show? House of Cards, which is it's 10 to 12 episodes a season. There's only 2. Maybe they're going to do a 3rd. That's the way to do it. Stop again. Way too much stuff. We talked about that on 22 MW. Stop giving us too much. Give us just the right amount. There's too much of a good thing is a real thing, and everything keeps proving that. And that's why I'm probably not ever going to watch this show either. So,
okay. So a complaint I have, and I have this about movies in general. This is something that drives me nuts. Is they released the DVDs and Blu-rays, and they put all this bonus stuff, deleted scenes, and once you get into all that, it's really hard to figure out what's canon and what's not. And this actually applies to the story they wanted to tell in the end, but this doesn't. And I just wish they didn't do stuff like that. If it was good enough, it would have been in the movie. Stop releasing all this bogus content. I get it, like it's an added feature for people that aren't stealing it off the internet. But just have featurettes with the directors and cast and crew. I hate the bonus stuff.
Well, if you're going to do it, just do an extended version and add it in. I hate it as extras. If you roll it into the movie, I still don't like it as much. But I'm more open to it if you'll roll it into the movie and make it part of the film. But yeah, just as extras, it's just not worth my time. But yeah, I get why they do it, so you'll buy the DVD. But that actually kind of leads into something I want to talk about, which was the inherent problems of a shared universe. And they've dodged them pretty well, although, like I said, I haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But at some point, some of these movies are going to kind of start contradicting each other. And the little stuff, obviously, that's going to happen. You can't do something like this and not have little things happen where Tony Stark mentioned he had a sister in Iron Man and mentions he's the only child in Avengers 15. It's going to happen. But usually things that get really big like this, my example is always the original Star Trek universe, which was 6 series and 10 movies. And it's just always contradicting itself. But it would do it on major things that were key plot points. And I'm not going to go into it because, again, that's a whole other episode if you want to watch a bunch of Star Trek sometime. But I really wonder if they're going to start kind of writing themselves into corners. We actually talked about that on our Guardians of the Galaxy review, that they left some stuff intentionally vague so that they would have more freedom when Guardians of the Galaxy 2 comes out to write what they want to write and not feel contained by making me happy and, making greedy Kurtis feel good about having all the info that he feels he needs. So I hope they kind of stick with that. I hope they go back and watch the movies. I've always said things like this, whether it's Star Wars, Star Trek, and they should have if I were a little more nerdy, I would start it myself, a nerd consulting group, and you should just go in and watch it and just be like those nerds on The Simpsons who point out is there a way to get past the castle and Itchy and Scratchy without the wizard's key or anything like that? So
yeah, I completely agree with that, and that's actually where I started saying things like that, was in reference to The Simpsons, where it started seeming like they were losing track of who these characters were, and Homer even said, his famous line, "That's just who I am this week," and I felt like you can fix this problem, you can fix it really well, make the product a great product, and you can do it for free. Invite some super fans down to on the set, the writing room, whatever. Tell them they're just setting in, but watch them. And if you see them start tweaking, ask them why.
You need to find some reasonable ones, because you can't you can't have people who will freak out that you're gonna do something different with the Mandarin. They're like, you just need people there who are basically continuity nerds.
Well, I'm not saying do everything they say, but hear them out, hear their side, because that's what the trolls and the Steves of the world on the internet are going to be saying. So get it frontline and be like, well, that's a battle we'll take, that's a battle we're not, and it'll just make the product better, I think.
You would think they do that, but I don't think they do. I think I actually tried to look it up once, because again, I've had that idea to start my own nerd consulting group, and I don't know how we would get paid for it, which I would have to get paid. I wouldn't do it for free, but
I always kind of stick.
I would have done it for free during the Star Wars prequels. I wish I could go back in time, start my own nerd consulting group, do it for free, and just explain the huge, not just annoying, but insulting plot holes that those prequel movies bring up.
Well, the problem is, and there are certain jobs out there that you have to have an ego about yourself to do. And people always give me crap, but this is the best example I can come up with. It's like, yeah, Justin Bieber's a little crap because he has to go out on a stage and perform in front of all these people every night and think that he's the greatest thing in the world. So he's a young person. He hasn't quite sorted it out, and I'm not justifying any of the terrible things he does, but you just have to see, like, he has to have an ego to accomplish what he's accomplishing. And
I don't want to get off topic, so...
Well, that same ego... Let me tie it in.
Which we've already done like 50 times.
Let me tie it in. That same ego is...
I just want to make a Justin Bieber comment about that.
Okay.
Because this has always kind of bothered me, and I don't know a lot about Justin Bieber, except like you said, he's a little punk. But didn't when he kind of first got big, like he kind of poked fun at himself, and he was like in commercials that made fun of the fact that he looked and sounded like a girl. And then like just one day he was like, I'm this big bad, MFer who sits at every sporting event and I wear my hat all awesome, and I got tattoos, and I drive my car. Like, didn't he switch at some point from, like, he was actually kind of even though his music sucks, that he was like could make fun of himself, to this egomaniac that you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're somewhat right, but I'm not an expert on Justin Bieber. I'm just using this as an example as to how I think these people, like, you watch the deleted, or the interviews with the people that did the special effects for The Phantom Menace, and they talk about how great things look, and it's just pure delusion based off of ego. And
well, all that stuff was, and well, we'll save that. I'm sure we'll do a Star Wars episode, even though we won't say anything that hasn't been said to death a million times. I'm sure at some point we will do a Star Wars, so I'll just save it for them. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Okay.
But to get back on topic a little bit, they've pulled it off so far. And again, I haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I wondered how they kind of folded that in with the S.H.I.E.L.D. going away in Cap 2. Sounds like, from what you've heard, they did do that. So I just wonder if this goes on and on and on, it's going to get too confusing or start contradicting itself a lot of times, which, again, some of that's going to happen. But what you can't have happen, at least in my opinion, is you can't go back and deflate another movie by writing a new rule that an old movie really relied on. And we haven't seen that yet, so I don't really have an example, but I think you understand what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, definitely. And, like you said, there's little things like a sister, and then later there's not a sister. I think that's happened on pretty much every sitcom ever done, But, again, Kevin Feige, the overseer of all these projects.
Is that how you pronounce his name? I always thought it was Feige.
When I hear it pronounced, it's Feige. So
okay, I've never heard. I guess I've never heard.
And that actually sounds like a name as opposed to Feige.
I always thought it was Kevin Feige. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
He seems to be very passionate about this, and he's done a great job so far. So, hopefully,
like Edgar Wright.
Okay, and Jon Favreau said the same thing, that this is a hard universe to work in, and that's why he just played Happy in the third one and didn't direct it. But that, you just never know how people working together are going to conflict. You can have two really good workers that just don't work well together, and that's just the way life is. And if you have a say in whether you get to work with somebody you don't like or not, then you're going to, financially and based off your family decisions, you're going to make a decision that's pertinent, and I guess that's just what they decided to do in this case. So that could be either they're really stickler or they're just really ridiculous.
Well, there's already discussions that they're going to get rid of Whedon for Avengers 3 and maybe even get James Gunn to do it. I mean, definitely what they've done with the directors here is they've brought in these kind of indie directors. Not, there's no Spielberg or Scorsese here. They brought in these names that people know, but they're mostly doing kind of indie or smaller films, and they're giving them, but they're bringing in great people. Obviously, you can't have as many movies that we've talked positive about and not have great people do them. The problem is you come in and do a couple of billion-dollar movies or close to it, you're going to get a little bit of an ego. And then that's where you're going to kind of run up against them. They're going to replace you. So it'll be interesting as they go to see who's in, who's out. We've already seen Jon Favreau. He was a producer on the Avengers, and I don't know what he's had since then. But it'll be interesting as we go to see how they keep doing this. There is no director for Doctor Strange yet, I don't think, right? But,
yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's been signed yet.
But we do know James Gunn will do Guardians 2. I forgot who they finally got to do Ant-Man. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I wasn't that familiar with him.
That could be their first stumble for sure. Just everything leading up to it, whether the movie or character would work under other circumstances, I don't know. But it just seems like it's not going good across the board. One more thing about Jon Favreau, though, before we move on from that, is on the DVD extras for I Love You Man, he was filming that movie when he got the opening box office results for the first weekend of Iron Man. And there's the footage on there of him receiving it and then kind of instantly becoming a diva. Obviously it's all tongue-in-cheek, but, because he's an actor on that movie. But anyways, back to this.
Okay. Well, kind of speaking of the future, we know where we're going. We got Avengers 2 coming out this summer. I'm sure we'll be talking about that when it comes out. There's a lot of rumors and stuff going around that, but I don't really think we need to talk too much about the rumors. What we do know is it's going to be Ultron is going to be the villain. The Avengers are going to be in it. We're adding Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. We already saw Quicksilver in the X-Men movie, obviously played by a different actor, who, even though he was really only in 10 minutes of that movie, he really stole it. And one of a really awesome scene. Maybe not scientifically accurate, but super awesome scene. Super awesome scene. One of my favorites of the summer.
It's not like The Dark Knight, and, completely 100% accurate. I got you.
Okay. Well, like I always say, if you're gonna do something like that, you do it well, and they did it well. So if you're gonna play loose and fast with science, I got no problem with it as long as you do something awesome with it, and that's what they did.
They killed it, but what can they do next? That's they got a hard act to follow, is what I'm trying to say. But that's a different story for a different day.
Yeah, so we did see Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver at the end of Captain America 2, very briefly. There's some theory, I guess, because the guy who I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know that guy's name, Colonel Bad Guy. He says the Age of Miracles, so they're going to call them miracles instead of mutants, which sounds weird to me, but whatever. It'll be fine, I'm sure. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how they roll these new characters in. There's even talk maybe there'll be a couple of new characters that they haven't announced yet. What are you looking forward to? What are you thinking as we get ready for Avengers next summer? Actually, I have a pretty good lull here before the next movie.
Yeah, that's true, and I guess I'm just excited to see where these characters go next, and I think that is going to be a lineup change, that we're going to see maybe some of the ones we've become more used to kind of step back, and then some new people come forward, maybe even see Hawkeye get some love. I doubt it, but and also I've heard this scene described that's going to open the movie, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it's basically just the Avengers sitting around partying in Avengers Tower, and they start talking about who can lift up Thor's hammer. And
it was apparently shown at Comic-Con, and somehow it has not leaked. So
that's crazy. I didn't know that, but it sounds like a very interesting, fun way to kick off the movie. So I'm definitely excited, and it'll be their opening day.
Yeah, I will for sure be there opening day as well, and I'm really looking forward to it. And then after that, it'll be what? Ant-Man, right? You talked about the problems with that. I'm not super looking forward to that, but I do like Paul Rudd, despite having to sit through they came together this week, but that's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Still like Paul Rudd. So we'll see. I do like. I always wonder. I understand why they do it. You kind of gotta get somebody with a name, but I always think it's kind of weird when for the first movie they get someone in their 40s, and for Tony Stark maybe it made a little more sense. But and obviously Paul Rudd has those boyish looks, despite the fact he's 45. But when these movies go, I mean, he's going to be like 53, 54 by the time Avengers 4 rolls around. Is he going to be in that? I don't know. So we'll see. I just think it's weird when they grab these really old guys to play these. Movie roles that are going to go on for 5+ years. It seems weird to me. But
with CGI, they can do so much in the costumes.
I hate when they make people younger through CGI. It always looks creepy to me. Don't do it well. Don't do it well.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying have a CGI or a stunt double in the costume doing all the action, and then just have him every once in a while prop up against a water cooler and explain something.
That's fun. And for Tony Stark, it makes sense because he's in a suit that does everything for him. And maybe for Ant-Man, they'll explain it too. But just when I see, one of my problems with the Batman thing coming up, and I've never read The Dark Knight Returns, but I know about it, is like Batman at 55 is just so unbelievable and ridiculous. He wouldn't even be able to walk or move. I know you're going to roll your eyes and whatever, but just seeing really old people play superheroes is weird to me, and I don't. That's why I'm saying when you're bringing in a guy at 45 and you're going to have him around for 5 or 6 years, and he's going to pass 50. Guys look a lot younger today. 50's the new 40, so can't knock it till it really becomes a thing. But we'll see. Ben Affleck playing. He's supposed to be, from what I've read, he's supposed to be like in his 50s in this movie, and they're already talking in 2019 they're going to do a solo Batman with Batfleck. But Ben Affleck's 42, 43, so he won't be that old, so I don't know. Okay, I'm going off on a rant there. We'll tone it back down and get back on topic. But so after Ant-Man, we're going to have, we don't know, right? No, Cap 3. Cap 3 comes after Ant-Man, right?
Yep. That July. Or May.
And that's the one that Batman v Superman 1965 Supreme Court. That's the one that they budged on that and moved their movie up earlier because originally they were going against each other, right?
Yep, exactly. And obviously that movie, it's coming off a huge movie. I think even if Age of Ultron somehow stinks, that movie will still have a lot of hype around it. I think that movie was just such a solid film that the third one is gonna,
And it's gonna have what is the Russo brothers? Isn't that their name?
Yeah. Who
obviously did a great job. So looking forward to seeing them do another one, following up the Avengers 3. And Doctor Strange is not official, correct? I don't think it's official yet.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the next one, I believe.
I've heard that they're even talking about casting Joaquin Phoenix already, and they're working with him to get him in there. So I don't know. I don't know how much is official and how much is Facebook official. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the rumor on that one as well is that they're not going to do an origin. They're just going to say we're not. Basically, they're not going to do any more origins after I think Ant-Man. And even that's going to be only a pseudo origin because I think Pym will already be established. So at least when the movie starts, anyway. So, what do you think about that? Do you think they need to stop with the origin stories if they're introducing new characters? They've done a pretty good job kind of just throwing some of these characters in.
I don't live in a world full of definites. I don't think they should just be like, no more. But if they can fit it into the backstory of another movie and make it work, I don't see why that would be such a bad thing to do and then have that person.
I would agree for the most part. I guess my only problem, and I don't know a lot about Doctor Strange, but in the comics, he's actually like magic, right?
So it's even talk that he'll be in his own universe.
He's not going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
It's been talked that it'll be made by the Marvel Studios, but will be in its own universe.
Oh, I haven't
Much
heard
as
that.
they're going to do with the new Shazam movie.
Oh, okay.
In DC. Which I don't.
That's interesting.
I don't necessarily like that idea. I know that you're greedy and will want all the answers, and they might not give them to you. So it'd probably just be best for your sake that they did.
Well, if they are doing it on its own, I think it's fine. Even with all the goofy stuff we've seen in Thor even explains that what they consider magic is just science we don't understand. So they've kind of gone out of their way to say that magic doesn't really exist in this universe. So if they're going to bring in a guy who is magic, then I think there's maybe an explanation kind of due there, but I know you'll disagree. But
well, I think that's a pet peeve of mine is that people always think people have to, one, be honest, and two, be super knowledgeable on everything. People in life just aren't that way. And when people watch movies, if they're not called out on their dishonesty, people just assume they were telling the truth. And I just don't think that has to be the case. And in this case, Thor does say that, and Thor could just be wrong.
Well, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Explain why it was wrong. That's all. And you don't necessarily need an origin story to do that. All I'm saying is they have established that, and that was a big sticking point. That's another reason Jon Favreau left. Even before that, was he wasn't happy. Even though he did agree to be a producer, he was unhappy when the whole Avengers thing rolled around because he really went out of his way to make those movies Dark Knight-like in the terms that they were realistic. And obviously when you introduce Thor, you're starting to get a little unrealistic. Well, they kind of went out of their way in that movie to say, yes, we're seeing fantastical stuff. We're seeing people teleport. We're seeing people take incredible beatings and not bleed, blah, 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 whatever. But they explain that it's one, physiology, and two, it's science that other people don't understand, and therefore they call it magic. So they've kind of gone out of their way to say there is no magic in this universe. Now, we can find out there is, but I think it deserves an explanation. I mean, that kind of goes back to what we were saying about contradicting yourself. So you need to have an explanation. If they do roll it in, it'll be interesting to see. They don't have to do an origin story. I don't think that's necessary. This may not even be a popular character. It's going to be interesting to see as we go if some of these movies start to flop, what they do. If Ant-Man's a flop, what are they going to do?
I don't think that they'll take that one too seriously. I think it would be one of their big four characters flopping in a movie before they took it and maybe reevaluated things. I think they have to expect this one to fail. They just have to. It's probably not going to look great. It's going to feel rushed, I think. I think they're going to even look back at it and be like George Lucas feels anytime he watches Star Wars, like, ooh, I wish I could make changes. I don't see it going well. I do want to see it. I'm a big Paul Rudd fan, and I'm a big comic book hero movie fan, and I'm a fan of this universe. So I do want to see it, but I don't think it's going to be great.
Yeah, well, we'll see. And I think the only other announced movie is Guardians 2, and I think there's even another movie that's maybe in between Doctor Strange and that one. But that's it. Well, Avengers 3 is obviously also, maybe it's not on the docket yet, but it's announced, obviously. So, obviously, really looking forward to that one, Guardians 2. Just we talked about how much I love the first one. I just can't wait to see, what these characters are going to do now that we've set them up, now that we've established them. 2017 can't get here soon enough for me on that one. So,
yeah, like I said, I think that movie was really, really good movie. My second favorite, but it has potential with those characters to just blow it out of the park with the second one. They built 5 solid characters for sure. I mean, Rocket is. I just can't get enough. That's the main reason I want to see the movie again is because of Rocket. He was so funny in it when he's trying to get the guy's eyeball. Just he seems like he's really there. And
I laughed at that thing the first time. It's even funnier with the leg thing where he's sitting there trying to do all that stuff, and they really set him up. Without a lot of backstory, a lot of words, they show you clearly that he's some sort of like technical genius, and he can like do he's Tony Stark almost, except that he's a 2.5 foot tall raccoon. But he's sitting there messing with all that stuff there and all that danger, and he's sitting there. What did he look like? Was he hopping around? What was he doing? Hysterical. That movie was as much as RDJ is hilarious in those Iron Man movies. This movie is by far the funniest movie in the series.
No doubt about it.
It's one of the funniest movies I've seen in years, period. So.
But just to correct you, he's not a raccoon. Okay.
All right, sorry.
Just out of respect.
Star-Lord disagrees because when he says, "What's a raccoon?" he says, "That's what you are."
God, I can't wait to see it again.
I can't wait till it comes out on video so I can watch it like 4 times in a week. So
yeah, me too.
I'm not gonna go to this theater and see it again, but hopefully first of next year it'll be out. So
Hopefully so.
So I think that kind of brings us to the end of the films. We talked a little bit about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Obviously, now the other next thing they have coming up is the Netflix shows: Daredevil, Luke Cage. What else they got in there?
Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, like what you're saying is they've announced 5 Netflix original Marvel Cinematic Universe shows, and unlike the DC world, these are supposed to kind of go hand in hand with the movies, as the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. show does as well.
Is that official? Like, I've been wondering that. Is the Flash and Arrow shows are not going to be part of the DC universe and the film universe? Is that official?
As of where they stand now, that's like official, but I could see that if the Flash show really goes as well as the Arrow show's gone, they could be like, whatever. We were wrong. Kind of like a X-Men First Class kind of thing.
Okay.
So these series are Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and then the Defenders, which is them as a group.
I've also heard maybe they might just do a Defenders movie, like an actual, like that might be one of the. They've got so many movies they got to make. They might make one of them the Defenders. I'm probably not going to watch these. If I hear they're really good, maybe I'll check them out.
Because I can binge watch them and I can sit down for 13 hours straight and watch them the day they come out. And especially since they're starting with Daredevil, someone I'm a fan of, I'll definitely be checking this out as soon as I get a chance. I mean, depending on the podcast and my schedule and stuff, obviously. But as soon as I'll get a chance, I'll be watching them. But that's projected.
I think it's unnecessary. I mean, we'll see. Again, Marvel deserves all the benefit of the doubt. So does Netflix. They've pretty much every show they put out has been a pretty big success. So no doubt that people are going to do a good job on these shows. Again, my concern is too much to keep up with, too much stuff. But we'll see if some of them are good. I mean, my problem is that. Say I just want to watch Daredevil. Do I have to watch all the other ones? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I have the same OCD problem you do.
What do you think about the 10 movies we just talked about? If you didn't want to see the Thor movies, could you watch all the rest of them? I think you could, right? I mean,
I think the first Thor, you want to watch that before you watch Avengers, but that's just me.
But would you just be like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, you wouldn't be.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, maybe. I mean, the main villain is, like, you wouldn't really have any clue who he is. I mean, they kind of do there's a little exposition there, but I think you got to watch Thor. Again, that's one reason I give Thor such credit is I'm glad every time I see the Avengers, especially the first time I saw it, I'm like, wow, I'm glad I saw that Thor movie. So, anyway. It's just, I mean, they're going to do like 10 or 15 episodes of these probably, and it's just going to be too much. It's just going to be too much work.
Okay. I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It could be
and then
solid.
How are they going to roll it in to everything else? Again, that's they've done a good job so far, so we shouldn't really worry too much about it until they let us down. But it's hard not to ask those questions.
I think at this point we have to expect a letdown. So I don't even think the first letdown I'll start questioning too much.
Well, I was expecting to let down this year, and then we got the 2 best movies in the bunch. So
exactly,
it's getting hard. So we already talked about it a little bit, but let's talk a little bit more. I think this is really, of all the things they've done well, I think this is maybe the thing they've done the most well, and that's the casting. Almost to a fault, because they're going to have a hard time recasting these roles. They're pretty much going to have to just put new characters into these roles, which happens in the comics too. They're going to have to find someone. You can't recast anyone after Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. You're going to have to give it to Don Cheadle, or hopefully not, but you have to give it to somebody else. Maybe that kid from Iron Man 3 in a few years, he can take it over or something.
True.
And they're going to get a different actor to play him, obviously. But Chris Evans, again, I thought that was gonna. He nailed it for me.
But he's ready to go already. He's ready to get out of these movies. So.
Well, he goes back and forth. I've read a lot about that, and when it first started, they had a real hard time getting him to sign up. He didn't want to sign up for the multi-picture deal, and he's like back and forth. That he like enjoys it, but at the same time, he wants to do more stuff like Snowpiercer, and I think he's really torn on it because I just read something this week that said he's not ready to quit yet. That he wants to finish out his contract, which goes at least through Avengers 3. So, I think he's kind of back and forth on it. I think Cap 2 probably changed his mind when he saw, like, hey, even though this maybe was kind of silly when I first took it on, and I only took it on because I was getting harassed and they drove a dump truck full of money up to my house, hey, we made a really, really great movie, and we can make a couple other great movies. And I think he's more on board now. Plus, when it is over, he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. I think he's more on board.
Okay. I guess we'll see. That's interesting to know. I didn't know quite all that, but I knew that he had thought about it. But great casting. Him and Robert Downey Jr. in the Avengers just absolutely kill it. They're back and forth because they are two totally different styles of people, and it just really works. And those two nailed those characters as much as I didn't want to like Chris Evans as Captain America. And I think Captain America could really be a super annoying character.
Yeah. That's why I'm just blown away by Evans' performance. That's a character that could just be. He just plays it so well between that Boy Scout and someone who, realizes that he has these superpowers and he is a badass. So he plays it right down the middle. He plays it perfect, in my opinion. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy nailed it in all of theirs. Even Vin Diesel just saying "I am Groot" was great. We talked about Tom Hiddleston as Loki. That was great. They finally got the Hulk right with Ruffalo in Avengers. Not so much with Ed Norton. Again, love Ed Norton, but he was terrible in that movie. Maybe not his fault. That was a bad movie all around. But
yeah.
Chris Hemsworth, again, I said it already. He does about as well as you can do with how goofy that role is. So
yeah, and I think that in Avengers and the first Thor, he really sold that by being less jokey. The third one, he felt more like a joke, and then you kind of like, oh, he's wearing this ridiculous costume, he's telling these stupid jokes. And I don't know if anyone ever saw the show Doug when they moved to ABC, and his superhero Smash Adams became this comedy actor, and that's just kind of what I thought of when I saw that. But I love Doug.
I'll have to watch Thor: Dark World again because I didn't pick up on that the first time I saw it. Again, we did talk about. I mean, Don Cheadle, obviously a strikeout there, especially Terrence Howard was good in that. And I know there was some contract disputes, and maybe he's not the easiest guy to work with. Although, I mean, he seems to like. Again, this is his point of view. If you listen to him, his career was effectively over. I think that's a little bit melodramatic on his part after that whole thing. And he's rebounded nicely. He's been in some good movies like The Prisoner. He was really good in that, and a couple other things. So, I mean, he's rebounded, so I don't think he can be that difficult to work with because he still gets a lot of roles, and people seem to put him in good movies. So
yeah, he just never seems to get promoted in the Air Force. Tyrese in the Transformers movies is getting promoted like a mother trucker, and this guy, he just can't catch a break.
He's always Lieutenant Colonel.
Yeah.
Well, again, love Don Cheadle. Terrible casting. I mean, the villains, we've talked about that. Maybe some better casting could have made some of those guys better. We talked about how there's a problem with them, and other than Loki, and maybe the Winter Soldier and Robert Redford's character, Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer. I mean, there's been some good performances in there. There's been a few good ones, but most of them, all the Thor villains after Loki are terrible. So,
well, what about
maybe they could find some better people to play some of the villains? I don't know.
What do you think about Michael Rooker? And yeah, one of my favorite movies, Mallrats, did feature Batman and what's his name, Yondu. So well, I thought he just killed it in that role. I don't know that we talked about that on either of the podcasts I did.
Yeah, he was really good, and he's always really good in everything he's in. He always plays kind of a gruff, rough guy, but yeah, he was good. I need to see. I just don't know. The guy who played Ronan. I don't like that villain. Like he was just. There's no motivation there for me. Again, I know you disagree. He's just, I'm angry and I'm blue and blah blah blah. So, I don't know. Maybe if they'd got a better guy. I go back to as bad as Obadiah Stane was a villain. Jeff Bridges was great in that because it's Jeff Bridges and he's great in everything. You could put him in the worst movie ever made, like The Giver.
Oh,
it's not the worst movie ever made, but it was pretty terrible. And he's still awesome in it. He can't be bad. So I'd like to maybe see him try to do that. Maybe get some bigger name actors who.
Well, I mean, I think
we know we're going to do a good job and put them in these roles.
They pulled in some of the biggest, actors like Robert Redford, like you mentioned, Glenn Close, even though she had pretty much a non-existent part. So they, the guy that plays the Collector, Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that character either. He just seems kind of goofy, but we haven't really spent any time with him, so it's hard to say. But again, the guy who played the Dark Elf in Thor, I don't even know who that is. I'd never really heard of the guy who played Ronan. So, I mean, it is what it is. We'll see as we go on. I'm looking forward to James Spader. I always thought he was kind of underrated. Good to see. He's got that TV show. I haven't seen it, but he seems like he's getting back on top. I always thought he was good, so I'm looking forward to seeing him as Ultron next summer.
Yep, should be exciting. Okay, so
any other casting?
I thought we would also talk about Stan Lee and his impact in these movies and what you like. And I don't even know how many you remember off the top of your head. I didn't give you any heads up on this, but in the first Iron Man movie, he plays like Hugh Hefner. And the second one, he's Larry King, which is funny. I thought that's probably my favorite appearance of him as Larry King. He's not in the third one. But, you see him here and there. I don't know if you saw that recently came out that the original theme they had filmed for Guardians of the Galaxy was him.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. That would have been my favorite one if they had done it that way. He was going to be one of the collector's toys or collection, and that would have been awesome.
And he was going to flip Groot off, and they said that didn't really fit his image. And I completely understand that it doesn't really fit his image. So, again, also in Mallrats. And
I was about to say he'll never beat the Mallrats cameo, but I mean it's always kind of I didn't think the Guardians of the Galaxy was weird because one, he had nothing to do with that, so I don't know why they put him in there.
True.
And it wasn't even a good one. It was probably I think it was maybe the worst one I've ever seen. It was just him talking to some chick, so it wasn't even a good one, and he had nothing to do with that. So I think my favorite is not even in the MCU. It's from Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. He's trying to get into the wedding, and he's actually saying, "I'm Stan Lee," and they won't let him in. I don't know. I thought that was kind of the funniest one.
Amazing Spider-Man, I think, is my favorite one.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
So, and I there's a guy that listens to 22MW that's been on the show several times. His name's Kyle, and he was telling me that Stan Lee. There's a theory that he may be the character the Watcher, which actually kind of makes sense and I think is an interesting point, but I don't know how much merit there is to that.
I guess we'll find out maybe one day. I don't know. Stan ain't going to be around too much longer, sad to say.
Exactly. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way life goes.
Hey, he had a great one, so we can't feel too bad for him.
True that.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. We got 2 episodes out of this. That wasn't planned when we first started recording, but this went on a little longer than we thought. Obviously, a lot to talk about. Each episode, though, we're going to close it out. We're going to get one of us or whoever's on the show will ask for some thoughts. Maybe it's on topic, maybe it's off topic, whatever. We'll kind of see as we go. So I'm going to ask Tony for his thoughts on something that is on topic. We actually covered it a little bit when we talked about Doctor Strange and it being out of universe. With the success of Guardians of the Galaxy, and there were a lot of rumors going around that really didn't tell us probably anything we didn't know, that Avengers 3 will have Guardians of the Galaxy in it, but do you think, given the success of Guardians of the Galaxy and the fact that they didn't, other than the Collector, really, and I guess Thanos too, they could really keep that separate for the most part and not combine it? Like, obviously it's in the same universe because we've already seen two characters played by the same thing, but do you think there's any merit to that, or do you think it's inevitable and we gotta bring them all together at some point?
I think the payoff may come a little too soon, that you could drag it out for maybe even a couple more years before you have to do the crossover, and, you know, kind of tease it, maybe have a character from the Avengers, you know, wind up with them, or then one of them wind up with them at one part in one movie, kind of tease it a little bit, but then a few years down the road have them come head to head. I will say this, and I'm really indifferent about this, but the rumor around the wrestling circuit, and if you don't listen to 22MW, I talk about professional wrestling on there a lot, probably too much, but I'm going to talk about it a little here, is Dave Bautista, the guy that plays Drax, it's kind of come out that he may never wrestle again because of the success of Guardians of the Galaxy and the contracts they want him to sign for picture deals, and how impressed they were with his work. So you may even get standalone Guardians movies. And, you know, they've already kind of said that there would be a sixth member joining the group in Guardians of the Galaxy too. So who even knows how that's going to come and go.
I will say one thing we didn't talk about that I meant to talk about was, I know I'm Mr. Nitpicky and I get a lot on it, but the one thing that drives me nuts that people nitpick on is when they say, when you get to the standalone movies, well, what happened to Iron Man and Cap 2? Or what? That's just the way it's going to be. You know that going in. I don't want them to spend every movie explaining where everyone else in the MCU is. Do you really want that? Do you really want to spend the first 10 minutes of every movie going down the checklist? Hawkeye's in Syria, Robert Downey Jr.'s in rehab. I mean, no, that's going to be terrible. So just, you understand that you're going to have a little suspension of disbelief. And again, this is coming from me, so that I meant to bring that up and I forgot. So you kind of reminded me there. But back on what we were talking about, I think they're going to do it too quick too. I don't have the problem doing it, bringing it together, but I probably would have liked to see a full Guardians trilogy before they did that, and it sounds like that's probably not going to happen, but maybe it will. So we'll find out. We got a lot of movies coming up in the next few years, and DC is going to be kicking theirs off. 2 years, year and a half?
2016 March or May, March or May, whatever.
And they're going to cram 40 superheroes into one movie when we've only had one up to this point. But you can hear Tony and I talk about that on a 22MW episode. I don't remember which one, so just go listen to them all.
That's a good idea.
So I think we can wrap it up. This was our first episode. I'm sure we've got some bugs to work out. And like I said, this one we're going to stretch out to 2. Normally we'll probably do something every 2 weeks. This one we'll go ahead and release this week, and we're going to move to Tuesday going forward. We're going to go ahead and release this one with 22MWU this week, and then we'll move from Tuesdays going forward. And maybe in between we'll try to do something, but we're mostly going to do every 2 weeks. So our next episode, it'll be coming 2 weeks after this one, or I guess 1 week after this one, since this is a 2-parter. We're going to do a Gimme 5. Every once in a while, we're just going to take 5 movies that are a top 5 or a list we got from somewhere, or just 5 movies that have kind of a similar theme, and we're going to talk about those movies in that theme. And the first time we're going to do that, we're going to talk about the AFI Top 5. That's the top 5 movies from the 2007 list, and we'll talk more about it when we get to that episode. If you came over from 22MW, thanks, and we hope you'll come back again. If not, if you came here on your own, then make sure you do listen to Tony's other show. Sometimes I'll be guest hosting with him on there. It's 22-minute wrap-up, 22MW. You can subscribe on iTunes and Pocketcast, and they're on Facebook. And for our show, maybe we'll get on Facebook or something later, but for now, you can email us. The email address is in the info button for the podcast. Let us know what we got wrong. Let us know either factual or opinion. And maybe if someone has a good point or lets us know we really screwed something up, we'll bring it up on the next episode. I do like to be factually correct and make sure we get everything right. So shoot us an email, tell a friend. Make sure you tune in next time. Until then, See ya.